Question is from Where's My Soul? Thoughts on an Olympic lifting-inspired phase of training, including things like power cleans, push presses, high pulls, clean pulls, Pendlay rows, etc., for muscle and strength gains.
So we've incorporated all but one of those, right? In our program.
We haven't done cleans.
That's it. That's the only one.
We've done high pulls. We've done everything else.
We've done everything else.
They didn't mention snatch, so yeah.
So power cleans are the only thing, and honestly, it's there. It would be maybe the next one we may include, and it's just because the general population
teaching it just takes so long.
It's very high skill.
It's all those movements are high skill. Power cleans for sure are. Snatches way up there. So I think it's incredible. If you have good technique, Olympic lifting is fucking awesome. And if you are at a point where you can actually do Olympic lifts with good form, one of the things that I have found, and that was something that was kind of cool, like the overhead squat that I can do now. I couldn't do that just 2-3 years ago. And what I have found by making sure I incorporate that occasionally in my routine, it kind of keeps me mobile. And I like that about Olympic lifts. Like, you've got to be hyper mobile and strong to do a lot of these lifts. But the fear that I have of giving someone the green light on this and not knowing who's asking this question is that in my 2 decades of training clients, I can count on one hand how many clients were in a place to do Olympic lifts.
You got to have stellar movement. And I mean, that's nothing to balk at. Like, it doesn't matter, whether or not, like, if you go through all these strength phases, you get really strong. Like, this is a completely different animal to approach.
Yeah, it's the sport of lifting weights.
It's not like you're like, oh, I've been lifting weights for 5 years, I'm strong, I can do all these now. No, you can't. You got to practice and learn them first.
Because power lifters, like, they're gonna fucking suck at these exercises, and that's just because it's a completely different approach. You have to have the ability to be loose and flow with the bar, in a sense, like create the optimal bar path, and then move your body around that, but still have that same ability to generate the type of force that, like, a power lifter can on command. So it's like the combination of your yogi guy that you make fun of as a power lifter with the power lifter, but now harmoniously making the symphony out of that together. And it's just like it's a really bizarre thing, but that's why it's revered to me. Like, these movements, they don't get enough. They're not put up enough in terms of, like, being unapproachable. Like, you really have to do your work to get to that level. It's the pinnacle.
Totally. If a barbell squat was a 10 in terms of technical difficulty, right, an Olympic lift would, like a snatch, would be 100. Yeah. It's like 10 times, and a squat takes a long time to get good at. So, that being said, if you're an appropriate person to do these exercises, so you're fit, you've got no joint pain, you've got good mobility, and you approach them appropriately in the sense that you practice them, you learn the technique and the skill, these exercises can be total game changers. They really can.
But
they're amazing.
It's a very small percentage of people, though. Again, 20 years now almost of training clients, and I can count on one hand.
Right.
How many people were ready for this?
Now you can gain a lot of the benefits of the explosiveness that comes from these movements with exercises that are easier to learn. Not easy, but easier to learn, like a kettlebell swing. A kettlebell swing is a great way to learn or utilize explosive hip hinging, way less technical than the Olympic lifts. Still technical, still takes a lot of time to really learn how to do it properly, but just it's a lot easier. A push press, if you have good technique, good form, and you practice it, easier to learn. Pendlay row, easier to learn than the classic Olympic lifts, but there's definitely a place for explosive lifting with advanced lifters who approach it properly. If you do it the right way, you are going to gain some muscle strength.
I would want to see a good squat, a good deadlift, and a really good overhead press and really good mobility before I would want one of my clients.
Sure, there's definitely a hierarchy of things.
Right there. Right? I want to see those things. We have squatted enough times, you've got a really pretty squat. We've push pressed, or we've done shoulder overhead press enough times. You've got a really good overhead press. You've got a really good looking deadlift, and I know you're mobile. You have good ankle mobility, good hip mobility, good shoulder mobility. Fucking A, let's do some Olympic lifts because this would be a fun person. And then even then, we're starting with a stick. You know, we're starting with a stick and now working technique before we start to load the bar, and then we progress and move from there. A normal person who's in the gym just working out that, you know, hey, I hate to say this, but fucking all of us are fucked up, man. Most people sit at desks all day long or on computers all day long. We've got all these imbalances and issues going, and then going into Olympic lifts before you've really mastered some of the core movements and worked and addressed mobility, not a fan of it.
No, bro, it's like entering into a Formula One race when you never learn how to drive a car.
Right.
You know, it's a whole different animal. It takes a lot more skill, and it can get real dangerous.
Yeah.